And sadly, our children right now are as young as 8 are being introduced to pornography at 8 years old. Kids they don't realize that once something is taken and put on social media or sent to someone else, there is no way to retrieve it.
Nope.
There is no way to erase it forever.
What are some of the threats that we need to be aware of?
We're seeing a lot of extortion scams coming out, like where they'll have a picture of your home and they'll send a mail to you, an email that has a picture of your home and all these details about you that they got from breach data or something, and then they'll extort money out of you. They'll call like grandma and sound like me, say, "Hey, grandma, I was at a party went over to Mexico for a bachelor party and I got mugged and got in a fight. I'm in jail. Like, can you send me $5,000 so I can get out of jail and I'll pay as soon as I get back?" And grandma wants to be helpful, so she wires money, goes to a CVS and wires money, and of course it's a scam. A lot of parents are just nervous. They don't know how to bring the topic up. Having conversations about sextortion or sending nude photos, it can be uncomfortable. But these are the very things that are happening to our kids each and every day, right? And they've become. I don't understand it. Of my generation, we never did this. We didn't have cell phones, but
Right.
It became like almost normal to send nude photos.
Hey there, it's Sandee Sgarlata. Get ready to dive deep into incredible stories of people who've taken life's challenges and turned them into a roadmap to happiness. On this show, we're not just talking about overcoming obstacles. We're uncovering the real, gritty secrets to living a life filled with peace, joy, and genuine happiness. This is Happiness Solved. So let's get started, because happiness is a choice and the choice is yours.
Chris, such a pleasure to have you on my show today. How's everything going? Happy New Year. You're my first interview of 2025.
Just like we were saying, I can't believe we're actually in 2025. It feels like 2024 just started.
Every year I feel like you get to June and I'm like, what happened to March? And then you get to September and I'm like, wait, April. What happened to April?
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know why it's going so fast, but I really feel like 2024 just flew.
It really did. It really did. And I'm always happy for a year to end and to start a new year, because it's just like a fresh beginning, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You kind of, I think our brains are so wired that, okay, starting on this day, I'm going to do this. And right. And we have all of our big plans and all of that. So what about you? Are you a New Year's resolution person or no?
No, I'm not. About 3.5 years ago, I went on a health journey. I got really healthy. I was really terribly overweight and unhealthy. And one of the things I learned from my trainer that sticks with me is I don't say I'm going to go do something. If I want to do it, I do it. I start it. I don't say I'm going to start January 1 or January 2. It's like, if I got to get in the gym, I'm just going to go do it. And that's kept me from making plans that I don't ever go through, because I was one of those guys who's like, I'm going to start next month. I'm starting. And then something would happen and I wouldn't do it. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. If I have a goal, if there's something that I want to do, I just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to start for that. And
yeah.
All right. So before we hit record, I did not get the pronunciation of your last name.
That's okay. It's easier when you hear it first. So it's Hadnagy.
Hadnagy. Okay. So we are talking to Chris Hadnagy today. Very good. That wasn't that hard. And Chris is the founder and CEO of Social Engineer, as well as the Innocent Lives Foundation, bringing 19 years of experience in the information security field. He's a pioneering figure in social engineering, recognized for creating the world's first social engineering framework and newsletter, as well as hosting the first social engineering-based podcast. Okay. So what is social engineering?
Okay, well, so if you look it up online, you're going to get a definition that's like the manipulation of people to do something bad, right? But because when we think of social engineering, we think of things like phishing emails, phishing phone calls, those weird text messages that we get, or someone acting like a charity come to your home to get money, something like that. But when I started researching this, I kind of changed the definition a little bit. I say it's any act that influences a person to take an action that may or may not be in their best interest. Because I think the same thing that the con men use or the scammers use to get us to do bad things, those same principles we use every day in just chatting and communicating with people.
Interesting. So when you were first talking about that, I was thinking of, because you were talking about getting people to change their behavior, and there's, neuro-linguistic programming, which is a way through linguistics, through the language, to kind of so people use that in sales and whatnot. So what are some of the, because I'm looking at your bio and you are raising awareness about social engineering threats. So what are some of the threats that we need to be aware of and that you talk about on your podcast, for example?
So I think the biggest one is phishing, right? Phishing emails, it's been around and it's still involved in 90% or more of breaches that we see in big companies. So phishing emails is still a huge problem for all of us. But let's focus in on a little more on some of the things that we're seeing that are advanced now, especially with AI. We're seeing a lot of extortion scams coming out, like where they'll have a picture of your home and they'll send a mail to you, an email that has a picture of your home and all these details about you that they got from a breach data or something, and then they'll extort money out of you. They do this they're doing something called the grandparent scam. They'll call like grandma and sound like me, say, "Hey, grandma, I was at a party went over to Mexico for a bachelor party, and I got mugged and got in a fight. I'm in jail. Like, can you send me $5,000 so I can get out of jail, and I'll pay you as soon as I get back." And grandma wants to be helpful, so she wires money. Goes to a CVS and wires money, and of course, it's a scam. We're seeing a large number of sextortion scams right now against our young men and women in the country. There's actually been over 40 suicides because of this here. It's a really terrible scam.
Okay, so let's pause there for a second because I have a couple follow-up questions. What are they extorting out of people? Like, because I'm thinking, okay, if somebody were to do that to me, they got nothing on me, right? Yeah. Like, I'd be like, I would just go to the police because, okay, like, you got nothing on me. Like, I haven't done anything. So like, like, what are we talking about here?
So, so a couple of things. When we're talking about grandma and grandpa, they're taking money, right? They're taking money because, oh, I love my grandkids and I want to help, right? The sextortion scams, they're getting young people to send nude photos, acting like they're going to young men, right? And they're acting like they're another 16-year-old girl. They send some scantily clad pictures. They get the young man to send a video of himself, doing something sexual. And now they go, "Hey, I'm not a 16-year-old girl. I'm a scammer, and you're going to start stealing money from your parents." And they get credit card and they tell them to do little things, right? Because if you got 1,000 kids all paying you $20, that's a nice payoff for a scammer, right? But they get really, really bad because they encourage the child to kill themselves. So it's really important that parents talk to their kids about this one. And another one for parents is the kidnapping scam. So what they do is, they go on TikTok or Instagram and they get a phone number for let's say your daughter. And now they can spoof it. That's a technology where I can make it look like I'm calling from your number or your daughter's number. And you get a call and it says, "Oh, my daughter." So I would pick it up, of course. And when I pick it up, I hear a girl crying in the background and a guy comes on the phone and says, "We're going to kill her if you don't transfer money to this account." You can't hang up. You have to Venmo, PayPal, whatever it is. And they're not asking for like $100,000. They're asking usually for 5, 10, 15,000, something that a normal like family would be able to gather up quick enough. And they're using the fear. Like, if you hang up, we kill her. If you call the police, we kill her. You can't even think quick enough. So for that one, they're trying to extort money. And then when it goes to the business, they're trying to extort data and money. Usually it's the motive is usually always money. That comes down to that.
Right. Well, I do know that a few years ago, it could be even 10 years now. Because time flies so fast, I can't keep track of it. I just remember, I'm in the DC metro area and we have a lot of federal contracting companies here that are working with the federal government. And so there was a lot of, I think it was Russians, which they assumed. I don't even know if that was the case. So sorry, Russia, if I'm pointing fingers that don't deserve to be there. But, they were, doing these big cybersecurity breaches. Yeah. I know my husband's company got breached. And I know of multiple other companies that got breached too. And it costs these companies, it can throw a company into bankruptcy.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly can. I mean, we saw that with the National Public Database breach, that 1 billion or 2.9 billion records got hacked. That company went bankrupt. They could not afford the lawsuits, the class action suits, and fixing the problem, and it was just massive. So that company went out of business because of it.
Well, in the private sector, like, even if they're not stealing client information, they're just hacking in. Yeah. And I know, like in the case of people that I know that own companies, they just couldn't access any information. They were basically,
Yeah.
held hostage. If you want to get your records back,
Yep. That's called
you got to
ransomware.
send us money.
So that's called
Right.
ransomware. So they send us a virus to the computer that basically encrypts the computer with a very, very long decryption key that the only people that know it are the hackers. There's absolutely no way to break it. There's no way to hack through it. There's no way to get your data back. It's locked. And they have that communication, what you just said. If you give us money, we will unlock your computer. Problem is, nowadays, insurance policies have it worked in. Cyber insurance policies have it worked in that to pay the ransom. So there was estimated last year, there's a ransomware group on the dark web. I can't remember exactly their name, but a researcher was counting up all the money that they made just off of their known ransoms, and they had over $100 million last year. This group of probably young men and women around the globe that are doing this. I mean, that is massive business if you think. That's one group that was doing this, $100 million. They now have the money to basically fund whatever campaign they want. They can do anything they want.
Right.
Scary.
I mean, I remember years ago where it started. I felt like it started with, I'm a Nigerian prince, and I've inherited all this money, and that was the thing for a while, right?
And it worked.
Okay, it did work.
It worked because, I mean, not on everybody, but you see someone, let's say they're down and out, they just went through a bad breakup, they're broke, they don't have a job, and then here's this guy that says, look, I want to share my millions with you, and all you have to do is just help me get it out of the country. That lack of that desire, that hope, drives some people to. I mean, they expanded that. Once that got really well known, then it became, I'm a widowed Nigerian woman, and my husband was very wealthy, and I can't have his estate unless I'm married. So if you just marry me on paper, you don't have to even do anything about it. Just marry me on paper, or we can split the money, right? I mean, it sounds like okay, maybe I can believe that. I don't know the customs in Nigeria. So she just wants to marry me on paper and I get $10 million. They keep expanding these scams more and more to make it more believable because they work.
So folks, here's the thing. If there's anything that can be learned out of this is don't chase the money.
Don't chase the money.
Don't chase the money. Don't be waste your money on lottery tickets. You want to go to a casino every once in a while, that's fine, but you're not going to get rich if you're chasing the money. That is not how it works. It doesn't work that way.
Work hard. That's how you can get rich. Work hard.
And follow your passions, and be a good person, and you're rewarded for that. All right. So I want to go back to protecting children first, because I think that's is going to put a lot of parents, on pause. So obviously, I'm thinking the first thing now, Instagram and a lot of the other social media sites have parental protections, and I think that the parents need to get involved. Right? They need to get involved and make sure your teenagers are not speaking with people that they don't know.
We have, so on the Innocent Lives Foundation website, we have a lot of information that can help parents to learn how to speak to their children about this. Because a lot of parents are just nervous. They don't know how to bring the topic up. Having conversations about sextortion or sending nude photos, it could be uncomfortable. But these are the very things that are happening to our kids each and every day, right? And they've become, I don't understand it. Of my generation, we never did this. We didn't have cell phones, but it became like almost normal to send nude photos. Nowadays, it's almost normal. They normalized it. And sadly, our children right now are as young as 8 are being introduced to pornography at 8 years old. Right. And I think I read that that's also the same age that they're also being introduced to marijuana. Especially now in many states that it's legal, it's becoming easier for children to gain access to it. It's these, where our kids are having to make adult decisions before they have adult capacity. So I'm 100% with you. I always encouraged monitor your children's devices based on their age. Right. When my daughter was really little and she had a phone and an iPad, we told her, I'm putting the software on there. I'm monitoring it, not to eavesdrop on you, but to keep you safe. As she got older and she proved to be more and more trustworthy, we lessened that monitoring. Now she's 20. She's out of the house. I don't monitor anything, right? I'm just here for if she needs me, right? So but I was a big proponent of that. And she would, the kids are going to hate it. She would say, none of my other friends' parents do that. I'm like, honey, that's not my problem. If they don't want, I gotta keep you safe, right? So
Yeah.
we were able to stop a few things that came at her too, and teaching her that gave her critical thinking. She caught a bunch of scams that almost hit her. She was able to catch them. So yes, you have to monitor. You have to talk to your kids about these things. It's vital.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I remember when my son's 24 now and moved out of the house a few weeks ago. So yeah, I'm kind of like,
Yeah, I get it. She moved
my
out
one
to
and
50.
only, he's in his own, but he's close by, so I can still see him. Yep. But, and half of his wardrobe is still here. So he actually on New Year's came by to get clothes to wear out that night. I'm like, you can just pack them all up and take them with you. Right. But when he was a teenager, I mean, I was a single mom for a long time. And I did get remarried, but even then it was a kind of a weird thing because the stepdad and all that. But I mean, I was just like flat out, like, don't be taking pictures of your penis. Yeah. I'm like, don't do it. And and he actually did have a situation where there was no nudity involved, but they were doing a prank. And it was an inappropriate video, but there was no nudity, but it was inappropriate. And someone felt threatened and we had the police come to my house.
Wow. And
the police officer I was like, you are freaking awesome, because he was like, exuded his authority. I mean, it was kind of like, I almost feel like every kid should experience that at one point, being scared where they're ready to poop their pants because there's a police officer standing there with their mom or their dad. Yeah. Like, that was life-changing for my child.
Yeah. Because
they were like, you're a good kid. Don't be taking pictures. And it was like, okay, and that saved him in many, many ways.
I think a lot of times these kids they don't realize that once something is taken and put on social media or sent to someone else, there is no way to retrieve it. Nope. There's no way to erase it forever. Once something's on Facebook, you can go to your account, you can delete your whole account. But if anyone else has taken that picture, if it's shared with other people, and a lot of young folks don't think about that. They're sharing intimate photos with their boyfriends and girlfriends, and then they're sharing them all over the globe.
All you have to do is take a screenshot.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to download anything. You can just take a screenshot and it's out there forever, and it can be damaging. And I had no idea that there were kids or people committing suicide over some of these extortion photos and whatnot. That's just terrible.
Yeah, it's a scary situation, and the scammers are actually encouraging children to hurt themselves. They get some kind of sick, weird pleasure off of it. They'll ask them. They actually, we've seen some of these things where they actually ask the child to stream it. Like when you're hanging yourself, we want proof, so stream it. It's disturbing. It's just disturbing stuff. What our children need, they need to have a feeling that they can come to us even if they messed up. Right. So I told my daughter, look, if you're at a party and you do something that I'm not going to be happy with, do not drive home. Call me. I'm going to come pick you up. We'll talk about it. Right. But I would rather be a little disappointed than not have my daughter. So don't do it. And that's kind of kept her in the places like where she did have to call me a couple times, and it was good to know that she can rely on me for that. Right now. Yeah. Do you get mad? Sure. I mean, things happen. You're not the happiest parent on earth, but I would rather live with a little bit of disappointment in my life than her getting hurt or killed.
Well, they need to feel safe coming to you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it's hard. It is the hardest thing because you are angry with your child for whatever it is that they did. Right. And you want to yell and you want to punish or whatever, but they need to feel safe. And if they don't feel safe coming to you because of the repercussions, that's when there's trouble.
That's what I always tell people when you're dealing with your grandparents or when you're dealing with your children. The first thing out of your mouth should not be, how stupid can you be? Because they're never going to come to you again.
They won't.
They fall for something, they're not going to come to you. If you called them dumb, that's not going to be like, okay, the first word should be, okay, this happened. Now what are we going to do? Let's talk about damage control.
That's
are you
right.
Okay? What can I do to help you first? Like, let's show some empathy. Yes, I know we're going to be disappointed. Like you say, we're going to want to, say something or, take away something or ground them or whatever. And maybe that's appropriate. Maybe it's not. It just depends on what happened. I mean, in the cases of children being extorted, well, I would love it if we can change society and, take away the feeling that nude photos are a normal thing. I would love if we can do that, but we can't. So if our child gets extorted, they were manipulated by a bad person. We need to show them love and empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, because here's the thing, and I want to just emphasize this, that it's not, the nude photos are not necessarily coming because somebody's extorting you. It's because they've got a boy they like, and so they take pictures of themselves, or vice versa, you know.
Yeah.
So they start taking nude photos to share with somebody that they have a crush on, or that they're dating, and that gets into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
So
It
even
does.
that is not okay.
It's not. No, and and kids nowadays, like, because it's so normalized. There's a bad breakup, and next thing you know, this guy is showing the whole football team, his ex-girlfriend, and
That's
that's
right.
humiliating. That's humiliating for her, right?
Yes.
And now she's got to walk through school and knowing that everyone saw what she looked like with no clothes on, maybe saw some intimate moments. Like, that's, again, adult decisions when they're not even ready to be an adult yet. It's
Yeah.
a scary time for them.
Yeah. Because there's not a whole lot of adults that are doing that.
I would hope not, right?
Well, I mean, I said that, and after I said it, I'm like, I have no idea, because, I'm not taking nude photos, but I mean, who knows what anybody else is, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh. All right. So emails are the next thing. And now I know, just because I was in corporate for many years. And so you get very educated. Most companies are educating you about the phishing emails, and you know how to identify them. Can you just explain to folks, when you have an email that looks suspicious, how do you know that it's not from Amazon? Because they're very smart,
Yeah. And so this is actually really hard to define, because there's a lot of technical answers that can make it easy, but I don't really like giving technical answers to people who might not be technical, and they go, well, I guess I can't stop it, right? The way I'm going to put it is trusted domains. So, if it says Amazon.com, then it's legitimate.
Right.
That came from Amazon. But if it has any other letters or numbers or anything else there, or if it's, let's say, shipping-amazon.com, well, have you ever got an email from shipping-amazon.com? It's not legit, right? Also, a lot of times, phishing emails, they'll try to use immediate fear, right, to get you to react. That shuts down critical thinking process. So it'll be something like, thank you for your $1,000 order for this TV, or your credit card was being declined, or your account has been breached. They're going to try to get you to click on it and take some action really quick. Stop for a minute and think, did I order? And then what I tell people, even if it is legitimate, I still don't ever click the link. Just open up your browser, go to Amazon.com, log into your account, and see, are there any orders that were messed up? Was there a declined? It will be the perfect way to do that. You don't need to click on the link in the email. We do it because it's easy. And now, with phones being like mini computers, they're really attaching to our phones. And because I don't know about you, but we do everything on our phone, right? Credit card, banking, PayPal, pictures, movies, everything is on there, right? So if they can gain access to your phone, they have access to a lot of stuff in your life. So it's much harder to even look at those links and determine if they're real or not on a cell phone. So that's why I say, don't just go to your account, open up the app, log in, look at it there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I get at least one a day about things that I've purchased, and I'm like, I just ignore them. I'm at the point now where I glance through my Gmail account. The only one I really pay attention to is my business account. Mm-hmm. And then my Gmail accounts, I have 2 Gmail accounts, and I just kind of quickly go through, make sure there's nothing important, but yeah.
It's like 90% gets deleted.
Yeah, exactly. Just it's at the point where it's just as bad as a snail mail, right? Yeah. It's all junk. It's just all junk anymore. So text messages.
Yeah.
That too is becoming a problem. And I just ignore it because I don't know. But what are some of the ways in which people are trying to take advantage of you through a text message?
Okay, so let's first set the stage. So every phone carrier in this country has been breached in the last 2 years at least once or twice, some of them 8, 9 times. So you have to just expect your data is out there. Your phone number is out there, is attached to your name. So the first thing they're going to try is they're going to text you something like, hey, this is Beth. You have a minute? And you're going to be thinking, do I know someone named Beth? Did I meet someone named Beth? And what a lot of people do is they go, hey, who is this? That's the biggest first mistake you can make. Because what they're trying to do is verify, is there a live target at the end of this phone number? And if you answer, there's that text. They sent that text out to 100,000 people. And the only numbers they're saving are the ones who answered. Now they know they can call you to get phone phishing, or they can text you a malicious link. So they're going to just wait for people. And sometimes people go, oh, but I just play with them. I'm like, yeah, but you're giving them the option that you are now a live target at the end of that number. Best thing to do, if you don't know that number, if it doesn't come up, you can go to Google and you could search it real quick. Sometimes it will come up. It's like a VoIP number. Great sign that it's fake. Great sign that it's probably a scammer. But better yet, if you don't know it, if that person does know you, they're gonna say, hey, Chris, you remember me? We met here and there. Then I can think about it and say, do I know this person? But 90% of the time, I just delete that message, and I'll even press the little button to report it as spam, so that way that number can be blocked on my phone.
A few weeks ago, I mean, I've gotten a couple of those, and I'm just like, wrong number. And even if they, engage, I just ignore it.
Yeah.
But it was probably a month or so ago, and it got one of these things. I was like, wrong number. This isn't so. I'm like, nope, it's not. And it was like a Sunday morning. I'm just sitting here drinking my coffee. And then they're like, sent me a picture of the dog. I just rescued this dog and it's really sick and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, call a vet.
Yeah.
Right.
They're asking you for money to help the dog.
Right.
Yeah.
And I knew and I was like, just call a vet. Oh, and they just started complimenting, you're such a kind person. And they just started asking me all these, and I just ignored it and it finally went away. But I was like, why are they doing that? I was like, what is this? But since that time, I answered that. You're right. I keep getting more and more. And now I just ignore it. And I have an iPhone and you can swipe to the left slowly and you can block and delete. Mm-hmm. And I just block and delete it.
Yeah, that's the way to go, because as soon as you answer, your name is now on a list that gets passed around to all of these scammers, and they're like, oh, here's a living target. And especially if you ever gave money, you're going to be on a list now for everyone to contact you, if you ever fell for something. So,
right. So in the case where this person was sending me pictures of this sick dog, like what could they have, I'm going, what, do you think I'm going to give you money or something? What?
That would have been the ask. That would have been the ask. They'd have been like, I don't have money to take her to a vet. Just lost my job. My mom just died. They'll give you some sob story. And if you love animals, you'll be like, well, I could Venmo you a few dollars for the vet, and that's what they'll go for. Yeah.
For me, I can't I don't have that mindset. And here's the thing. My mind isn't capable of concocting some sort of plan and actually executing it, right? I can't cheat it's just not who I am. Yeah. So these people I feel like there's got to be some sort of mental illness there. If you are a human being, then you're capable of taking advantage of another person. There's something wrong with you, because
they lack empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really they lack empathy because, we worked a case for this older woman. She was dying of cancer. They took her last $5,000. They don't care. Right. There's not, to extort naked pictures out of a child and then tell them to kill themselves. That's not even human, right?
It's not.
You lack empathy for other people and you're so self-centered. Now, there are also groups, just to say this, and that doesn't make it right, but there are groups of people who have been either kidnapped or trafficked, or they're in prisons in foreign countries, and they're being forced to do these things. There's been some reports of certain prisons in Russia that force their prisoners to run extortion scams. This is your sentence. Here's some cell phones. Now start making us money, kind of thing. So it doesn't make it better, but I'm just saying not everyone that's in it is in it willingly. But if they kidnap you and they're trafficking you, and it's like, hey, well, you can go be a prostitute or you can scam people. Do you make the choice? Which one do you want? And a lot of people will go for I'll scam people. So it's
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Well, it is a lot. It is a lot. And I'm so grateful to have you on today, because this is the type of information that I like to get out to my audience just for education, because it's really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, it is. When I would talk about phishing, phone phishing, so many people, I haven't even heard that word. I don't even know what that means. So how can you defend against something if you don't even know it exists? Right. So I think education is the very first part of all of this, because, and it's not like, you don't just sit grandma and grandpa down and give them like a 90-minute lecture on all the different things. Here's a very simple solution you can do with your kids or with your parents or anybody. Have a code word. Like my daughter and I have a code word that we never joke about. It's not written down anywhere. It's saved in a password vault. And she knows that if that word is ever, she texts it to me or she calls me and says it, I know she's in trouble, and I got to get to her as fast as possible. If somebody ever calls me and says, I have your daughter, I'm going to say, ask her for the word. And if she doesn't give me the word, and I know it's a scam. So we have we're calling like a 2-factor authentication for the human. And when my grandma was around, I set that up with her too. I said, if anyone calls you and says, this is me, here's the word. And we had it on a sticky note next to her phone. And I said, you never say the word, Grandma. It's always me. You ask me for verification. You never say it. Right. So that kept her safe, because it's just something so simple you can set up with anybody that you can use for verification. Because nowadays with AI, it's also like AI and phone spoofing. You can clone someone's voice in 4 minutes. I can clone your voice. I can have a whole conversation with someone as you. That's scary. To think about that. So you have to have some kind of verification process to know that what you're being presented with is trustworthy.
Yeah. Wow. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that is important for people to know?
Well, we talked about phishing. We talked about smishing, the SMS phishing. We talked about phishing. That's the biggest one. We covered ransomware. We covered a lot, didn't we? Yeah. Parents, kids. I mean, I guess there's so much. I hate always being negative about it, but
I know, but it's important. I mean, you're doing such good work because people need to know this. And when we're talking phishing, people, it's PH.
Yes.
Fishing, not fishing with catching fish to eat. We're talking, it's totally different. What is the name of your podcast, and how could people learn more about what you do?
So the Social Engineer Podcast is the name of the podcast, and it's everywhere. It's iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, all over the place. You can go to social-engineer.com. That's our website. You can find out more about what I do there. And the nonprofit that I run is called the Innocent Lives Foundation. So it's innocentlivesfoundation.org. Our mission there is to help law enforcement geolocate people who traffic children and create child abuse material. And we do this as a non-vigilante way. So we're not these groups that you see them on Facebook, like they're going out there and they make believe they're a 13-year-old girl, and then they get these guys to come to McDonald's. 86% of those cases never make it to court. And you actually educate the predator. So what we do is we actually go on the dark web, the worst places on the planet, and we find people who are creating and trading images of children being abused and hurt, and we find out who they are in the real world, and then we hand that file over to law enforcement in whatever country they're in. We've done 558 cases in the last 7.5 years. So,
oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's
and have you been able to prosecute the offenders?
We're not. So yes, we don't get involved in that part.
Right.
Yeah. So we hand it over to law enforcement, and the 558, those are cases that we actually were able to get the full name, like where the person is, pictures of them, and hand them in. We've worked 900 and something, but sadly, sometimes we just can't locate the person. It's the dark web is very, very difficult, but we've been quite successful recently in being able to use breach data and other things to help locate these people. And it's every predator you take down, it could affect dozens of children. So it's it's something that we're really proud of. But on that site, parents that are listening today, they can get information on how to talk to your kids about these things. We have a whole network of how to talk to your kids. We have some great videos that you could share with your kids to talk about these things. So that's innocentlivesfoundation.org.
innocentlivesfoundation.org. I will make sure that is in the show notes.
Thank you.
And people, folks, if you'd like to get more information, go there. And also, I'm sure you'd be happy to take some donations as well.
We would. We're a legitimate 501c3.
You're a 501c3. Yeah. So yeah. And that is such a great cause. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time. And I'm so grateful for what it is that you're doing, Chris. Thank you.
Great to be here.
All right. Take care, everyone.